Neil from the Green Room podcast here. Hope you're enjoying the debut Recharge Festival and the Paddock. Right now I'm joined by a couple of promoters that could make the Paddock happen. Chris from Yackandandah Folk Festival, Jocelyn from Mount Beauty Music Festival, and Andrew from Queenscliff Music Festival. Guys, hi there. Welcome to Zoom. How you doing?
Good. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, we're all fantastic.
So for the sake of not going over the top of each other, because Zoom is a nightmare like that, we're going to do a quick festival speed dating. So I'm going to give you all 60 seconds each to say who you are, what your festival is, and what your event's all about. So let's start with Chris and the Yak Folk Festival.
The Yackandandah Folk Festival, 24 years, held in March every year. My name's Chris Smith, and we've sold out for the past 4 years, and we're devastated when this year was cancelled at the last minute. But we're hoping things can pick up, and we're looking forward to trying to go next year. But I think most like everybody, if we do, it will be with local acts only. I don't think we'll get any overseas people in.
All right, Jocelyn.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn Ceccanti. I'm the president of the Mount Beauty Music Festival. I've been on the committee for about 3 years, but the festival's been running for almost 20 years and all based in Mount Beauty using local venues. And it's always been a big part of the calendar in April of every year. We've always had a huge community engagement and supporting all the local businesses. So sadly, this year we've had to postpone, and it's had a real big impact on the businesses and on the community, missing out on such a big event that we run every year. So we're postponing at the moment. We're waiting for more details, and hopefully we can bring back the festival bigger and better.
All right, Andrew, wrap it up for us.
Hi everyone, Andrew Orvis from the Queenscliff Music Festival. I'm the director down here. We run a music festival at the end of November. We also run a contemporary arts festival in June called Lowlight Festival. And we do a couple other things. Unfortunately, Lowlight we had to cancel, and we're still working towards maybe a festival in November.
Optimistic. I like that, Andrew. Chris, we mentioned right before we started, Yackandandah actually called off the 2020 event. I think, at least as far as social media is concerned, it was called off the exact same day that Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced bans of gatherings of over 500. Was that coincidence, or did you guys just think, let's nip it in the bud now?
A bit of both, actually. We had been looking at cancelling, and we announced the cancellation, but I guess the final trigger for us is when Blue Mountains, which had actually just started on the Friday, when they had to pull the pin, and we thought, well, this is the way it's got to go. Let's at least give our patrons and performers who are travelling a chance to make other plans or not go too far down the track. But it was, that was probably the hardest decision we've ever made.
Mm. And on the other end of the spectrum, Andrew, you just mentioned that Queenscliff is still looking to go ahead in November. What is the mindset or the attitude around to not, I guess, throwing the flag in just yet?
I think a lot of that stems from the type of organisation we are. So we're a community-based not-for-profit festival. A huge reason for our being is to bring people to Queenscliff and to generate, local business and provide something for the locals to do as well. So we're pretty committed to doing something. We hope to be able to have a normal Queenscliff Music Festival. Maybe by the week that's becoming less and less likely, but we hope to do something. So I think in one way, shape or form, we plan to do something. If we're allowed to have 50 people, we'll have 50 people doing something. We hope it might be more than that though.
Jocelyn, you mentioned in your speed dating intro, I'm going to call it, the importance that Mount Beauty has on the local community. When this pandemic kind of came into effect, what impact did that have on the community, as far as the simple fact that Mount Beauty won't be going ahead as planned this year?
Oh, it had a huge impact with all the businesses. I mean, all the accommodation providers, all the restaurants are generally busy, the supermarket, that just the whole town in general really missed out. It was hopefully we were hoping we could kind of modify it, but then it was quite obvious that it wasn't going to be able to feasibly happen. So I guess the online was another option, but it's all the technology and people want that face-to-face. They want to come up here. It's a beautiful place to visit. They want to come here. So yeah, it's had a huge impact financially. And I guess just that feeling of, you know, people want to do something and support these things and they can't physically at the moment.
I mean, for the sake of staying optimistic and talking about those businesses that are trying to look forward to something, how has the response been? Again, as far as announcing that the event will be postponed, how have you seen the response being, okay, well now how can we get Mount Beauty back on track?
It's been very positive. I mean, I think everyone's in the same boat. So that in one way makes it a bit easier because we're all on a level plane. So everyone's trying to figure out what to do. And so there is no definitive answer at the moment, but everyone's helping each other, which is a positive, you know, that community spirit, I think. So I think if we can put something together, everyone will be happy with it. It's got to be that collaborative, and it might just have to be modified. It might have to change pending our situation. So it's a wait and see, really.
I mean, Andrew, you alluded to that before, as far as having to change maybe the way that your event rolls out. Do you think this pandemic will just be kind of a one-off thing as to how festivals operate, or do you think it has taught us and the music industry a lot about how events should operate as far as whether it be the lineup or the amount of people coming in or out? Do you think that will change moving forward?
I think everything's going to change moving forward, and I think we're all going to learn a lot of things that we probably never thought we would ever learn, like Zoom being one of those things. But yeah, look, I think every music festival is going to change for the foreseeable future in one way, shape, or form. There's obviously immediate things, but there's some really long-term changes and long-term impacts that I still think some of us quite haven't grasped yet. You know, there's going to be some really big things and changes that we don't even know about yet. Yeah, it's going to hurt us for a long time.
How has the community responded and reacted to Queenscliff, especially with your festival in particular still aiming to go ahead in November?
Yeah, I guess we've seen kind of both parts of it, where our winter festival Lowlight was cancelled, unfortunately. Part of the reason for that is it's very quiet down here in terms of tourism in winter. So we aim to get some people to Queenscliff down the coast from Melbourne during what is traditionally a really quiet time. So the business has missed out big there, but quite supportive of the move, and understandably. And they're all still quite optimistic about November, and I think they're also, I hope, and I get the impression that they're all grateful that we're committed to trying to do something, and understand that, you know, as a community, we're all in it together, and we've all got to try and get there after this, whatever that might be and however that might be. So, you know, we're hoping.
That notion of sticking together and camaraderie, I think, is kind of evident now more than ever. I wanted to ask all three of you, what have you guys learned, particularly looking at the reaction that you've had from the community, from festival operators? How important is this to you, and what will you learn moving forward for future events? Chris, I'll start with you.
Look, I think Andrew indicated this is still evolving. Yackandandah Folk Festival started as a one-night event, as a fundraiser for the school, and it built up over 24 years. Now the whole community live on the festival. We're a village of 900 people, but we get 2,500 people in town. We get 800 people camping. And when you talk to the businesses, they rely on the festival to help them through the quiet times. So the cancellation for us, for our community, none of the community groups, the cricket club, the footy club, the school, they didn't make a cracker out of this. But then, even if they had, with the forced shutdown of businesses soon after, the festival was one impact, but the total shutdown is another impact. Now, where we go from here, we're going to have to reinvent how we do it. I've watched quite a few of the live podcasts and the people that the performers have been doing, and I've quite enjoyed the music and I've enjoyed the novelty. But a lot of people come up because they want the experience, they want the social interaction, and they want that feel of being there and being able to walk up and talk to the performer about where he came from or what he's doing, or they love his music. So our challenge is going to be, how do we create an experience for people? And 50 people, yeah, that's nice. I just want Australia to get behind the social distancing and the testing and the app, and not just have this virus there but in control. We're going to kill it, because until we can kill it, we can't get back to experiencing, whether it be music festivals or whether it be just life as we previously knew it. Mm-hmm. And all I'd do is encourage people, do whatever you can to kill the virus. Now, once we're down to 2 states, Victoria and New South Wales, if we can kill it here, we can all get back to some semblance of normality, at least in our home country, even if we can't travel. But the world's never going to be the same.
Jocelyn?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, I guess we've had a couple of other impacts with the bushfires as well. So I think that word resilience comes up quite a bit, and I think it does show you how resilient people can be. And I think people just have to become more creative now and think. I think it's unrealistic to think that we're just going to go back to normal when the pandemic goes. I think there's going to be a huge amount of change, and the social distancing, I guess, is going to probably be something that's going to be around us for quite some time, as the hygiene side of things and all the procedures that are going to follow on from that. So I think it's going to be not completely different, but I think it's going to probably kill a lot of festivals completely because of the financial and economic impact. But in one way, I noticed a lot of artists and festivals, they're all collaborating. And I think that whole collaboration thing now is important, as more, from now on, if we can do those things and bring people together and all have that same focus, I think that's a really positive thing that we can move forward. So it's just working out those ways of how we can be resilient and not rely on just one way of doing something. And that's what this Zoom online sort of streaming has done, even for a lot of musicians. I think a lot of musicians, this has been a big step for them to be able to, get up into that social media, because that's been the only way for them to connect with people. So I really think we've got to be really creative, and I think the festivals can do that. They've just got to find that edge that's going to bring people back. So they'll want to come back to those regions, but working out how in a creative way that still satisfies those visitors.
And Andrew?
Yeah. I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about it all. And I feel that some of us are maybe being a little optimistic about where things are going and when it's going to be fixed. They're talking about festivals later in the year, and I'm one of them that I don't know, and I really don't know even if November 2021 is going to be an option. It's that kind of, and the thought of, I think we're going to have to start to wrap our heads around. There comes a point where we're all going to have to get back to business, otherwise we won't have work, there will be no industry, we will have no jobs, and we will have no music and festivals and arts and culture. We will have to get back to business eventually, and that may very well mean that we have to work and live and survive in amongst the pandemic, and we're going to have to find ways of having an event and having a festival whilst there is still some risk. Maybe that's a little way off, but talking about Ken West talked about a test event type scenario in a letter that he wrote, and that's the kind of thing that we might be getting to, where we're having to have screening and we're going to have people wearing PPE, and it might be the reality of music festivals or music events, or any kind of events this year, next year, who knows. I think pretty much everyone's saying that this could be the reality for all of us until there's a vaccine, and it may be that we're not allowed to have events until there's a vaccine, or we have to find ways of dealing with things and trying to survive until there is one.
I mean, Jocelyn used that word resilience. Andrew, how have you seen that? I mean, we talk about how significant and important these events are to regional communities. Has it surprised you how big the community response has been? Again, this idea that it's not only something people want, it's something we need, both from a fan of music and from a business standpoint. Has that response surprised you?
Yeah, I maybe not really surprised me. I know our local community is pretty strong and adapts and changes. It's the nature of a small little town, a small little coastal community like ours. And maybe I'm not really surprised that the music industry and event industry is adapting and changing, because I feel like that's what we do like every single day at work. It's part of being in the music business, is every day is different. So that's probably maybe more so than ever. But so yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, we're going to have to change things maybe quite significantly, and the impacts on some people is going to be too much. But we're committed to. I mean, part of the other thing is I want to be able to have a festival or event so that I can employ people. We employ hundreds of staff, contractors, suppliers, maybe thousands, and they're all going to be out of work if we're not here, and that scares me. And that I know a lot of those people really well, and I'm worried for them. So yeah.
Jocelyn, how about you? I mean, as far as the community response and the determination to host the Mount Beauty Festival, maybe this year, maybe early 2021, I guess where is your head at as far as, again, use that word, resilience and having a plan in motion?
Well, I mean, we're really guided by our limitations. So at this present time, we're hoping to postpone, and we know it's not going to be the same thing. We need to look at, again, whether artists can travel interstate. We highly likely they won't be able to travel from overseas, so it will be a different look. So I'm optimistic, and I'm always a fairly positive person. I'm realistic, and for us, we're a not-for-profit, so realistically, we don't have a big effect on employment as much as we would like to. We're a festival that's really based on funding from our local shire and getting assistance from business and sponsors. So I guess for us, the economic impact, really, the festival brings money to the town, which helps put money in the pockets of the businesses, the small businesses in the town. And that's why the festival was created, was to bring people to the town at a quiet time of the year, so to help those businesses survive. We don't have that huge amount of infrastructure, and we use our local venues. So in a way, for us, it will have an impact on us because we're the hands-on, we're the volunteers that put the festival together, and we're purely doing it for love. So it's going to be, I guess, brought down to the reality of it. And if we can do it, we will do it. And if we can't, and we will get the support. We know we'll have the support from the businesses. But if it doesn't happen, it's going to impact people because they won't be able to physically come and enjoy it, but they won't miss out on the employment side of things. I mean, there's some sound and lighting, obviously we do, and the musicians making obviously their own income coming to the town. And I think it's just the way things are going to be. We just got to wait and see, really.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's a matter of staying optimistic. And I know we started this Zoom interview with a 60-second speed dating kind of thing. I'm fortunate to know the hard work you guys do. But for those who might not be as aware, or, I mean, this is kind of your 60 seconds now to speak directly to communities. What can we do to help? What should we be doing to support? Is there anything that we can be calling on government to do? I guess, what is your message to your respective communities about what we can be doing right now, and to make sure that your events come back bigger and stronger than ever? Chris, you can start.
Sorry, a bit of unmute first. Look, the government's dropped the ball. They've looked, employment's important, big business is important. But I remember Winston Churchill said when they wanted to cut the arts funding during the war, he said, well, what are we fighting for? And I think our government's got to recognise there's more to life than just big business. And yes, the economy's got to keep going. But look at your small communities. Your small communities aren't about big business. Your small communities, we're like Jocelyn, we don't have a lot of direct employment, although the surrounding area all gets involved. But I think regional areas have been ignored in all of this. And we had the comeback. A lot of people were coming up after the bushfires, but that was killed as soon as the as soon as the virus broke out. So regional areas have been decimated, not just by the loss of the festival, but by bushfires and other things. And they keep talking about, oh yeah, we'll keep the bushfires going, we'll keep this going. But what else are they doing for small communities? It's not a lot. It's all about the capital cities and large employers and big business. Look beyond the capital cities. You notice the virus. We've had none in Indigo. I think you've had very little over in Alpine. Jocelyn, any? None? No. So why are we tarred by the same brush as the cities? Get your head out of the sand. Recognise the cities. There's a great world far beyond the cities. We grow the food, we look after all the regional and rural areas. Look beyond the capital cities, is all I've got to say, and recognise there is a big difference. Yeah.
Well said, Chris. Jocelyn?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Chris. I think for regional towns, people have to be here to actually see. You can't just classify us as a regional town and we all fit into that same category. Every town, every region has something different to offer. The Alpine region, we have a huge amount of seasonal visitors that come here in the winter with the skiing. In the spring and the autumn, or the grey nomads come. We have a lot to offer in this area. And I think, we need to have the respect from the people above to recognise that we bring people to the town and money, and we deserve to have the respect and the time taken to look at each of these regions and help those regions to make sure they get the best out of it. And it's supporting those businesses and it's supporting everyone collectively, and not to just, miss those little towns in between, because they're the little towns that are also struggling. And we had the bushfires, so we've had fires since November that were impacting on our town. Most of the town evacuated in January and returned back to some normality, I think, for February for school, and then by March it's just complete washout. 2020 is, for this whole community, just even for our families, our children, this whole year is just a disaster, really. So we just need to be recognised and supported. And I think if we get that and that time, then it'll be beneficial for everyone. We're getting what we need, and we're not just getting money thrown at us for things that we don't need.
Finally, Andrew?
Yeah. Look, my kind of three things that I keep saying to people in how they can help is, personally for us, if it gets to it, keep your tickets if you can and come and see us next year if there's no this year. And I think that goes for any festivals, events, shows. If you can, keep a hold of your tickets and go when you're able to. I think for the community locally, come and visit us when you're allowed to. Queenscliff will be well and truly open for business, and we'd love to see you down here when you're able to come and visit. We have the best fish and chips in Victoria, which is enough of a reason to come down here.
Call. That's a big call.
That's no, they literally win the awards down here. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, although it could be like every bakery in Victoria has the best pie. Who knows?
Sure, yeah.
But I'm claiming it. And the other thing that I think is important in terms of the industry is if you can, supporting people like Support Act, who are doing great work in our industry and looking after an industry that's the first one that closed and will be the last one that gets to open back up. So I think that's important.
Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. Thank you for being involved in Recharge and, of course, the paddock. Andrew, in your case, I hope Queenscliff goes ahead in November as planned. And Jocelyn and Chris, let's hope Mount Beauty and Yackandandah are back in 2021.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.